Hey guys, it's Ian here, also known as White Robot, and today I want to talk about something that's concerning me about the tokenomics, and specifically something that the community is voting for. And my concern is that either the community doesn't understand what they're voting for, or there's some weird manipulation happening, and I want to talk about it. So, um, if you lock token with GoMining, uh, up to now, there has just been this section where you decide what you want to happen to the 10% of new minted token. But a few weeks ago, they added this section in where we as a community, in quote marks, can decide what happens with the burn cycle. So basically, how it's always worked is that every cycle, so on a weekly basis, there is a certain amount of token that is burned, and there's a certain amount of token that's newly minted. And this is a good thing for every token to have, because ideally, you want the token to go up in value. And one of the best ways of doing that is to reduce the supply. So just to show you, if you go into the tokenomics section, you can see that we have a current supply of just over 407 million tokens, and our target supply is 100 million. So we want to reduce the supply by a massive amount. So if you're an investor, you can buy a certain amount of token now, hold it long enough, it will go up in value, or at least you're going to own a higher percentage of the token, whether it goes up or it should go up because it has a good utility. So this is why we want to continually burn and why that burn rate is important. So going back to this vote, there are two votes. Do we want to execute the burn or skip this cycle? And we're at this point where only like just under 10%, so barely any of the people that have voted want the burn, which is crazy. And then almost 91% of those who have voted wants to skip this. I don't know if people don't understand what they're voting for, but I want to spend a moment to talk about it. So briefly said about the burn. So with fiat currency, so with paper money, that has inflation. And what inflation means is that more money is being printed, therefore the remaining supply is devalued because it's spread thinner. With a lot of crypto projects, not all of them are like this, but with the best projects, they have the opposite, where the token supply reduces. And if you are buying GoMining as an investment, which I assume if you're locking token, you are buying this as an investment, you want that burn rate to continue. So the remaining supply declines on a weekly basis, and therefore the value of those remaining tokens increase. We want that as a community. We should all want that as a community. If you're buying token and holding that token to pay for maintenance, the value of the tokens will go up, so your percentage will increase. It's crazy that the community doesn't want that. Well, with this, okay, so we're going to skip the cycle. So first of all, why would anyone want to skip the cycle? I'm going to show you what happens. So this is a diagram from the token white paper. And you will see that there is this burn and mint part. And then what happens to the token that's left goes through this process. So if you can imagine, it will go through the process. We pay for our maintenance, percentage of that gets burned. So what happens now is 90% of that token that should have got burned doesn't get burned. And that's a huge chunk of money. That's a substantial amount of money. It's not small money. This is massive amounts of money. So now this massive amounts of money is going through this process, and 70% of it is going to the company. 70% of that unburned supply is going directly to, and when I say the company, 5% is going to the team, 65% is going to the service provider. And I consider those two going to the company. And then the community that wants this, only 30% is coming back to us. So 20% of that is going into the GoMining contract, and then we are choosing where we want 10% of that to go. And that 90% that we're not burning, where that's going is, like I said, a massive chunk of that is going back to the company or to the suppliers. And this is why I don't like this. I hate this. I feel like this doesn't make any sense to me. The community shouldn't want this. There is no real benefit to the community. Yeah, we might get a tiny little bit more on like greedies or whatever, but essentially we are devaluing the token by choosing no, because the burn rate has been massively reduced, and that doesn't benefit the community other than potentially devaluing the token. We're able to buy more of it. There's benefits to whales in particular, so that's most likely what's going on. But there is no true visibility of what's really going on and who's voting what. And to me, it feels like these two people who probably hold the biggest supply is manipulating this. I don't like it. This doesn't make any sense. So as a community, I'm putting it out there. If you have the rights to vote and for whatever reason you decided to skip this cycle, please switch to executing the burn. Executing the burn is the only thing that really benefits us holders or us investors. There is no reason to keep the token price down. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Don't like this, hate this, don't even know why the company added it. Doesn't make any sense, never made any sense. The only reason why it makes any sense is because Anyway, if you want to talk about this, go into the GoMining Discord server. I'm in there under White Robot. I'd love to hear what you think, but that's my thoughts.